Hey, 2Bs, it's Psychic Bob. It is so good to be back with you. Well, I got some good news for you. You may recall last Wednesday I did a video about my newest artworks, and I made this picture in the video. Anyways, I asked a lot of you for names, and I kind of took a conglomeration of a few different names, and the name of this picture is going to be called Green Frenzy. Gavin Hines from England said he wanted to call it Nature's Frenzy. I like that. And somebody else called it Green Madness, and I like that. So I decided to kind of take a little bit of this and that, and we're going to call it Green Frenzy. So a lot of you were and said, Bob, I saw you make that. It was just really cool and it's fun. It's a neat image. And I agreed. So I went ahead and framed it. And a lot of you said, Bob, can we get copies of that? And the answer is yes. We're soon going to be able to have copies of this. I have been successful in scanning this. Now, you have to understand, PsychicBob is not very technical. So working my scanner has been a challenge. But I figured out how to scan documents finally. And you would think it used to be so easy. The old printers, you just laid it on the glass and press scan. This one I had to go through a whole program app to get it to work. Anyways, it's scanned and hopefully it's going to be uploaded. I've sent it to my web developer, and in the next few days it will be posted on my website, which is PsychicBob.com. You'll be able to go over there, click on it, right-click and download it to your computer and have a copy of this, and then you can print it out. So yeah, you will soon have a copy of this original straight from me. So I'll let you know in the coming days as we get that going, but I just want to give you that update. Anyways, welcome to Saturday. Can you believe we made it to the weekend? I'll tell you, it is beautiful here today. It's like no humidity. It's like 75 degrees and just sunny. I'm having a great day. So anyways, for those of you who are new here, every Saturday we have a spiritualist class and seance. And this is for people who want to learn about the spiritualist religion. As many of you know, I am a Wiccan, but before that I was a spiritualist, and I still am a spiritualist. I practice spiritualism and Wicca. And in this class, we're doing studies of spiritualism and spiritualist authors and teachings. And we're going to have a little seance today as well. I am a trance channel, T-R-A-N-C, or is it that way? C-E, trance channel, and I channel spirit entities. So we'll talk about that in just a little while. But right now we're going to continue on. We are studying this book by Sylvia Browne, one of my favorite psychics and mediums. It's called Mystical Traveler. And this book, the point of this book, for those of you who haven't been following, is that some of people in the world, some of you have been writing to me even, and said, PsychicBob, I feel like I'm being called to spiritual service. Is it possible? How do I do that? What does it all mean? And Sylvia wrote a wonderful book called Mystical Traveler, saying that a lot of people now on the earth are being called to service to God and service to humanity as mystical travelers. So we're looking at that concept and exploring it. And right now we're in the chapter, which chapter are we in? We're in chapter 4 called Dogma, Karma, and Dharma. Dogma, Dharma, and Karma. And we're going to continue today on page 53, continue reading. Now, just for you, those of you who haven't been here, basically, right now she's talking about the whole concept of religion on the earth and how a lot of religions have got it wrong. They're all wrapped up in, dogma, and they're crushing out the spirit. And she said, basically mystical travelers, a lot of them don't like churches, and they'll go into church and they're like, why does this not feel right? And it's because as a mystical traveler, you have a real connection to the divine. And, so she encourages you throughout this chapter to be open to what the Spirit is leading, not what somebody's trying to put on you. And, I agree with that. I've always said here, and I agree with Sylvia. Sylvia said it, and I copy it, which she says, take what you want, leave the rest behind. As a psychic, I never control people's lives. I never say, you must do this now. No. As a psychic, I tell people, this is what I'm seeing. It may help you on your way. If you don't agree, that's fine. But this is a chapter all about how to deal with people that are trying to force their doctrines on you. So let's go on and read what Sylvia wrote. Hold on, I got to put on my glasses here. PsychicBob's had blind. All right. So she says, so many times I've heard preachers and other religious experts claim Jesus said this, but what he really meant was that. No, he didn't. Francine insists, Francine's her spirit guide, Sylvia's spirit guide's Francine. Francine insists that Jesus said what he meant and did what he was supposed to do without any hidden or double meanings. And he never claimed that he came to die for our sins. Paul inserted that many years after the crucifixion when he wrote his epistles. As an aside, she puts in parentheses, as an aside, I just hate it when overly zealous followers put words in the mouth of the one they've been following after he or she dies and then pronounce it as fact. Paul, she's talking about Paul, the original follower of Christ, who wrote most of the Bible. Paul, a zealot, if ever there was one, never met Christ, and neither did the writers of the 4 canonical Gospels that are attributed to Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. Biblical scholars know that these Gospels were authored many years after the crucifixion, but that fact is not highly publicized. As a result, a lot of people believe that they were actually written by the apostles, which they weren't, and that Paul himself was an apostle, which he never was. Why does the Christian faith perpetuate such falsehoods to this day? Because the early church leaders chose to be apostolic, meaning that they follow the teaching of the apostles. For all intents and purposes, they even chose to make Paul an apostle. After all, Christianity definitely follows his instructions more than any other, including those of Jesus himself. Now I'm going to pause right there because I got to throw in my 2 cents on this. I have seen this in churches I've attended where they'll quote something, and some churches they'll tell people in the congregation, oh, you're a sin and it says in the word, da 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 da. And I've always sat there and I thought, I'm listening in my mind to the teachings of Jesus. I thought, what did Jesus teach? And then I hear these preachers saying stuff that doesn't jive with what Jesus taught. And a lot of that they pull from St. Paul, or Paul, some call him the saint, some don't. I'm not personally a fan of St. Paul. I have to agree with Sylvia. I always felt he was overzealous and fanatical. And he has a lot of negative undertones in his writings. That's just my experience. And so I, a long time ago, got this concept. I said, if Jesus said it, I could trust it, because I like Jesus. Jesus is cool. Even though I'm a Wiccan, I still think Jesus is great. I do think he's a God form. But regardless whether you believe that or not, the fact is, if we are going to study the teachings of Christ, let's study the teachings of Christ, not of somebody who claims to know Christ and they never actually met Christ. So I think that she's really right here that there are a lot of problems in the churches, and they stem from the fact that people are not following the simple message of Jesus. What was that simple message? Love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, and mind, and love your neighbor as yourself. Love your neighbor. So, that's really what Jesus taught, love. And I tell you, a lot of what I hear in churches is not love. It's condemnation, judgment, self-righteousness. I'm with Sylvia on this. She goes on, she writes, and we're on page 53. Why does the Christian faith perpetuate such falsehoods to this day? Because the early church leaders chose to be apostolic, meaning they chose to follow the teaching of the apostles. Okay, let's skip down here. Next paragraph. Sorry, I read that. When the battle between early Christian factions was finally over, Pauline, related to Paul, Christianity won out, making it the most widely practiced form of Christianity today. So when you get right down to it, Christian teachings are the result of writings by Paul and some obscure monks who penned the 4 Gospels. Throw in an essay on the political machinations of Roman rule, that's now known as the Book of Revelation, and presto, You have what we call the New Testament. Sad but true. See, so, I always get upset when I've had people show up. When I used to have a storefront years ago where I did readings, and I would have preachers from churches literally run in my shop with their Bibles screaming at me. And what they didn't realize was that I actually studied theology at university. And I actually studied the original Greek text, the original Aramaic and Hebrew texts of the Bible. So when they would quote something to me, I would often say, do you know what the original translation is? And I found most preachers really didn't know. And it's just interesting to me, and I think Sylvia said so much of the truth has been twisted. Sylvia goes on where she says, I don't mean to be glib about this, but I've always maintained that the Bible can be both inspirational and very dangerous. So much of it is allegorical in nature, yet it is interpreted literally. It is oftentimes called the Word of God, but biblical scholars know full well that it was written by human beings. Isn't that true? I agree. So I think there are truths in the Bible. There is beauty. There are words of Christ that are legitimate, but it is still written by humans. I also find it funny that many Christians incorporate the Old Testament into their teachings, but when they turn around and condemn the Judaic faith. Christ was a Jew, but he came to change many of the Jewish outlooks, traditions, and laws by preaching about an all-loving, all-merciful, and all-forgiving God. These teachings more or less evolved into the Christian faith, despite all the alterations and misinterpretations that those who follow him perpetuated. So there you go. We're going to stop there today. I think that's a lot to think about, but I think it's so important that, whenever anybody comes at you and says, oh, but the Word says, you might want to ask them, what do they know about that supposed Word? I've had so many people come to me for readings, and they'll say, Psychic Bob, I don't know what to do. I'm at a crossroads. I went to my church, and I don't find any peace. Every time I leave, I just get in an upset state. And I tell these people, I say, I would rather that you go out in a park on a Sunday. Don't go to church. Go to the park. Commune with God and nature. You'll get further with your spiritual life. I really believe that. And this is where, forgive me for bragging, I think the Wiccans have a little bit of the edge. We figured that out a long time ago. And we know that divinity and nature are interfused, intertwined, connected. And so, I pose to you today, ask yourself, how do you feel? If you go to church every week, ask yourself, take a little poll. Do you come out of church every week feeling uplifted, inspired, and strengthened for the week? Or do you come out feeling, I'm overwhelmed, I'm just full of negativity, I'm sinful, I just got so much I'm behind on? Ask yourself that, because if you're getting beaten up, and that's what I call spiritual beating in your church, you might want to think about skipping out. Step out of that church for a little while and connect back to God, your understanding of God. Because, as they say, God is love. In the Spiritualist church, you've heard me say it before, but I'm going to preach this till the cows come home. We believe, our first principle, we believe in infinite intelligence. What's that mean? Divinity is a force of consciousness. It is also a force of love. You as a thinking person don't have to check your mind at the door. Not at least in the Spiritualist church. We encourage thinking people. We encourage meditation. We encourage looking within. A lot of churches will tell you, you're sinful, you're evil, you're lost, and there's no redemption for you. Don't believe that. I believe in a God of love. Now, some of the fundamentalists will throw at me, you don't understand God's full nature. God is a God of righteousness. You preach love, but what about his law? I'll say, yes, God is a God of righteousness. But most of the people that the churches condemn as unrighteous really are just normal people living their lives in an everyday way as they should. They're not evil perpetrators. And this is where the big mistake comes in. So don't let yourself get beaten up, please. Let God be a God of love, and it will change your life. You know, people say to me all the time, I get accused, you work for the devil, you psychics are enemies of God. I hear this all the time. And I'd say, you know, if you lived with me every day, you might not think that. The truth is, whether you believe in psychics or not, everything I do is about my connection to God. I live in that light. I live in the stream of infinite intelligence. That's what I'm about. And people who get to know me discover that. And it's not just for psychics. All of us should live that way. All of us should let that mystery indwell within us. My understanding of that mystery may be very different than yours. And you know what? I believe that our God is big enough to let those differences exist. Because the truth is, none of us have the 100% perfect truth. We have bits of it. So your bit of truth is just as valid as my bit of truth. And if we can live in love with each other and with this presence, this omnipresent divinity, infinite intelligence, then we have peace and joy in our lives. So don't let anybody beat you up. Anyways, I love this book by Sylvia Browne, Mystical Traveler. I am not being endorsed by Sylvia Browne Corporation nor Hay House, the publisher, but I recommend it. Anyways, we're going to have a seance now. Enough of my preaching. Ooh, I'm on my spiritualist soapbox today. I'm preaching. Woo. You know, I actually did preach in the Spiritualist Church for several years. I was a platform medium and I headed the services, and I loved it. Anyways, so we're going to do a seance. Now, seance is a spiritualist tradition. In the spiritualist church, people gather with mediums and they open the door and spirits come in to communicate. I happen to have the form of mediumship, which is called trance mediumship. That means I put myself in a trance state and spirits come in and speak through me. So we're going to take down the lights. I want you all to pull up your chairs here, gather in our little seance circle. If you were actually in my house, we just have a little circle here, sit in a circle. But you can pull up to your computer and know that you're etherically joining our circle. I'm going to take down the lights. So I'll be with you in just a minute. Hang on, and we're going to have a seance. All right, tubies, I have the lights dimmed, and I'm going to go into a trance now. Now, trance mediumship, for those of you who have not seen this, what happens is when I put myself into a trance state, spirit entities overshadow my consciousness and take temporary control of me and use my body to speak. This is not possession. Let me emphasize that, because sometimes people write me and they say, oh my God, you got possessed. Trance mediumship is an arrangement, agreement, a partnership. The spirits and I agree to exchange energy so that they can communicate. I lend them the energy of my physical being, and they merge their energy into my body. It's not at all scary or, spooky. I don't even feel anything. And so we'll see what they bring today, but that's how it works. So I'm going to settle down, and I'll see you when I get back. Oh, there we go. Looks like we're in the medium's body. Give us just a moment while we get control of the vibration here. Oh, well, there we go. Looks like we're settling in. Oh, I'm so glad to be back with all of you. You know, there's a lot of soul glow out there today. So many of you be vibrating close to the spirit world. But don't worry, we're not snatching you out of the body and taking you over yet. We're giving you a little bit of power from our world in order that you might continue on your mission. So, may the spirit world be with you. I'm going to be stepping from our medium now so that others can come through and speak. This is Fletcher, over and out. Greetings, one and all. My name is Alfred. It is a great fortune that I am able to be here with all of you today. There are many souls on the earth who have forgotten their true identity. They think that they are mere human flesh and bones walking about the earth with no beginning and no ending. Some believe that they will live forever and are in great denial of the change called death that is approaching. Some know that death is coming and they believe in an absolute oblivion, and so they live upon the earth as if tomorrow will be their last day. Greed is rampant in many of their lives, for they feel they must acquire all that they can before they expire. Either extreme, either disbelieving in death or disbelieving in afterlife, both are wrong views. The balanced view is that we are here for a short while, to learn, to grow, and to eventually return to our true selves, our dimension, that is in another dimension, the spirit world. The spirit world and the earth world overlap. As our medium has trained you in previous lessons, which we have watched with great joy, his model of the spirit world is quite accurate, though I might wish to add that the spirit world is far more complex than any model can design. In your earth world, you have the concept of frequency. You might understand this through listening to a radio. As you turn your dial, the vibration changes. Some stations are clear, some are less clear. Some play music that you find agreeable, yet others play music that makes you want to turn off the radio and leave the room. Why are you attracted to some music and yet not to others? Why do some sounds please you, yet other sounds cause you irritation and discomfort? All of this comes back to vibration. The spirit world is structured in such a way that the vibrations are in harmony with one with the other. There are lower vibrations and higher. Your earthly self, your being, your physical body as well as your spiritual body operates at a vibration. In the material world, you have a physical vibration. That physical vibration can be altered in such a way as to create damage. This is why when an opera singer sings at a certain note, glass shatters. The vibration and resonance of that frequency causes molecular changes on the physical level. This reality is the same at the spiritual level. In the spiritual level, there is vibrations of harmony for each type of person. If you're a very base person who prefers alcohol and drugs and violence, you will find this in the spirit world. There is a vibration where such people go. You will find yourself surrounded by these people until such time as which you tire of it and seek a higher vibration. This is when progress begins. We say in our world that you will either grow upon the earth in your vibration or you will grow in the spirit world. Either way, you will not be exempt from your lessons. And so we encourage those of you of the earth to learn the spiritual vibration whilst on the earth. One, it will make your earth life much easier, more pleasant. And two, when you arrive here, you will already have practiced and explored frequency, and thus you shall have greater mobility in the spirit world. Not only that, you will no longer have to retain at the lower levels, be retained there, I should say. You will rise to higher frequencies and find yourself in more agreeable circumstances. Many souls who arrive here in the spirit world and are shocked and find that they are not met by angels with trumpets and walking streets of gold. No, these things do exist, but only for those who have such frequency. For those who have spent their earthly lives engaging in crime and hatred and self-loathing and destruction of others, they will find themselves in a dark realm, where there is very little light, and they will be surrounded by those who hold such a vibration. Try to understand that this is not punishment. but it is simply reality. As you think, so you are, and as you are, so you shall be. But understand that all things in the universe are flexible, and that you can change your vibration by your very choice. The choices you make today affect your tomorrow. So make your choices today for that which is good, that which is noble, that which is kind. We were listening earlier when our medium here spoke of the words of Jesus, that he said, love the Lord with all your heart, with all your soul and mind, and love your neighbor as yourself. This is very great words that contain a lot of truth. These words are the principles of vibration. If you operate in the principle of love, you operate in the highest vibration. It is very true that God, or as we call God, infinite intelligence, is love, and love is God. You cannot separate one from the other, for they are both of the truth of the light of the frequency that manifests throughout the cosmos. If you live in love, you will have God within you. That's just asking me to step from our medium. He said there are others who wish to speak. So I shall leave you with those thoughts today. My name is Alfred. Greetings, my dears. This is Rose. Do you know, whenever I have the opportunity to come here and visit with you, I have such joy. And when I can listen to Alfred teaching, oh, that even brings me more joy. He's a very wise man. It's very hard for me to understand how such a brilliant mind got so lost on the earth. But then again, Fletcher and the other guides here often remind me that the earth realm is a realm of challenge. Understand that each of you come here with challenges ahead of you. Now don't let that discourage you. It should inspire you to do great things. Do you remember, perhaps some of you may recall when you were younger, perhaps a teenager, and your mother and father said, "Oh, my dear, you're being too ambitious. We don't think you'll be able to, get onto the football team, or we don't see you being accepted into that university." What did many of you do? Some of you, I suppose, gave up and said, "Yes, mother and father, you're right, I won't even try." But I dare say, especially in your youth, many of you said, "Well, I will prove it to you otherwise." And what did you do? You worked harder, and you overcame, and you were able to say to your parents, "Look, I did get on the football league, and oh, I did attain that university. And not only that, I attained the degree as well." You see, the earth life's challenges should spur you on to greatness, not despair. Many of you right now are going through great challenges financially and emotionally. You may say, "Rose, I've lost my job. I don't know how I'm going to save my home from foreclosure." My dear, think of that foreclosure notice as your parents saying, "Well, you can't do it." What do? You're going to buck against the system, my dear. And you say, "Not only will I do it, I shall do it in spades." Every tragedy, every challenge put before you is an opportunity to buck the system. And I think the earthly system these days needs a lot of bucking. But you see, my dears, some of you have also said, "Rose, you've called to me in your night and said, I'm all alone. My partner has left me." Maybe your partner's died or they've abandoned you for another. Either way, you're alone. But my dears, know that even in that sorrow, there are those of us from the spirit world who look upon you with love. We would that you would let us come and comfort you and show you a new light. You know that saying on earth, which I used to hate. My own mother used to say it. She used to say, "Rose, behind every cloud, behind every storm cloud, there is a silver lining." Well, I suppose that's true, but it didn't help me at the time. But I do have to remind you of this, and even though you may disagree today, consider that even in your darkest night, that the spirit world is that silver lining. We bring to you the very love of infinite intelligence. Let your mind rise above your sorrows, and let it be back to its original state. Do know that before coming to the earth, each of you lived in the realm of spirit. All of you are souls created in the mind of God. And God has such infinite wisdom and trust in you, and confidence, my dears, that He allowed you to leave and enter into this realm of darkness, this earth, because God knows that you have power to overcome even the darkest of challenges. And every time you're faced with a challenge, you can glow like the spirit world with the brightness of divinity. I know some of you say, Rose, I'm heartbroken. I don't think I can go on. My dears, you are in the dark night of the soul. Even greater souls than any of us here have crossed through this time of sorrow. St. John of the Cross, a very devout Catholic man, said that the dark night of the soul is our opportunity for growth. It is a chance for us to be alone with God. And so you're never alone. Pour your sorrows into the veritable heart of God. Let the spirit world help you. Call unto us. Say, I am alone. I feel destitute. I have no love. Never hide how you truly feel, for we know already, my dear. Be honest with yourself, but also don't give in to despair. Some of you are saying, Rose, I'm so alone. I think that I shall kill my very self. My dears, do you know what will happen if you do that? Well, let me say it this way. If you don't go to the place of darkness, purgatory, you will come here but be sent instantly back with a big failure on your exam sheet. To commit suicide causes failure, and you're never exempted from that. You will return to the earth and be reincarnated. And then you will have to go through all those lessons again that brought you to that point of despair. Do you really want to suffer all of that you've been through again? No, my dears, there are no shortcuts here. The lessons must be learned. So if you have to learn the lessons, what did you used to do in school? You had a study partner, somebody you would gather with and help each other to get through the exam. You would learn the lessons together, and that way you could challenge each other to be the best you could be. If you don't have a study partner in your life, or a steady partner, steady or study, it's the same thing, isn't it really? Then let us help you. Call upon me. Say, Rose, I'm alone. Will you help me? Say, Spirit World, send me a spirit guide. Some of you this very week have heard a voice speaking to you, and you've said, I know there's a spirit. I don't know what it is. Some of you say, I know there's a voice, but it's not Rose. My dears, there are uncountless millions upon millions of souls here waiting to help. So if a voice different than mine should come to you, and you feel at comfort with it, receive it. There is no danger in partnering with those who come from the spirit world. Fletcher is saying that our medium's power is starting to wane, so I shall not tax his body any longer. But my dears, thank you for allowing me to come today. It is my great honor and pleasure to be received by you. I feel the medium's power starting to wane, and my own power is going with it. And so I shall be returning to the spirit world. But please remember to call upon me. Know that I will come to you. My name is Hey Tubies, Psychic Bob. I tell you, I love channeling. Whatever I channel, I come back feeling like I've been to heaven. And I guess in a sense I have, because heaven has touched in on me. I hope you've enjoyed our seance today, and I hope this has helped you on your spiritual journey. The guides are really good to us. If you've enjoyed this today, you might want to pop over, to my website, PsychicBob.com. That link will be below. Check out my book. This is my book, Messages from Rose. It's about my work as a medium. I am a published author. Besides that, we also have other books there. If you've already got that one, you might want to check out Psychic Bob's Book of Spells, Psychic Bob's Book of Wiccan Wisdom, Ouija Mysteries, the Spirit Board Seances, and there are a few others over there. But I hope that you'll stop and visit my website today. And if you want to get on my schedule for a private reading, you can call me. I still have some openings for this upcoming week. 703-825-3929 is my number, or you can write to me at my email, which is PsychicBobHickman@gmail.com. And that link will also be below, and we'll get you on the schedule. You know, a private reading, for those of you who haven't sat with me, it's a full hour, you and me, one-on-one, and we go through everything. Past, present, future, spirit guides, messages from deceased loved ones. And I answer all your psychic questions. We look at your soul journey, what your life themes are, past lives, all of that. So if you'd like an hour with me, you know, a lot of you said, Psychic Bob, I wish I could sit down with you for a full hour and pick your brain. Well, we can do that. And that's what my private readings are for. So give me a call, 703-825-3929. Read more about my readings at my website, PsychicBob.com. You guys are best. I love you. Listen, keep it here at Spirit Channel. We got more coming tomorrow. Sunday means the witching hour, 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 Central, 6 Mountain, 5 p.m. Pacific, live broadcast, 1 a.m. London time, 2 a.m. Paris time. Be here. We're going to have a lot of fun, and we're going to be answering your questions about Wicca and talking about all things magical. You guys are best. Thanks for being here today. Listen, help Psychic Bob out. Like this video, favorite it, share it with your friends, and hit subscribe. Join our channel. We'd love you to be here. You guys are best. I love you. We'll see you here tomorrow for the witching hour. And until then, may all of you always blessed be.